Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. So I'd like to start off by saying happy Juneteenth, everybody. I know that this is not the first time, at least for me, it's not the first time I've recognized this holiday, but it is the first time that it's a federally recognized holiday, which means like if you work in the government or if if your job decided to observe it, you could get the day off. I know that that decision to make it a federally recognized holiday is not something that's been embraced by everyone, but because it represents such a small fraction of what people really wanted when it came to taking measures to ensure that, African Americans had equality in this country. However, in my opinion, it's kind of like going to a restaurant and knowing that you want pasta. And that's like what you went to the restaurant for. And the restaurant owner's like, okay, well, we're gonna get you the pasta, but in the meantime, would you take this appetizer? And the appetizer is like a good appetizer. It's like calamari. And you want pasta. You have a taste for pasta. You're hungry for pasta. And you know they can get you that pasta, but it's just a matter of waiting it out. And some people could say, we've waited too long for the pasta. I totally agree. But just because they didn't give me the pasta doesn't make the fact that I'm hungry and the appetizer will do, kind of, sort of, for now. You see what I'm saying?
That doesn't make no sense. My man.
So I know people wanted so much more. I know people want so much more. I want so much more. But this is kind of cool. So I'm not mad at it. I posted another little video like this a couple days ago because while I do intend on doing video essays that are longer about various things keep happening in the world and that I want to talk about. So this video is going to be me talking about those things and giving my opinion on them. It's not going to be a very long video like the last one I posted that was like 3 hours long. You could have watched Lord of the Rings in the time it took you to watch that video if you didn't click on the little timestamps that I included. But it is going to go in depth into some of the things that I was interested in heading into the end of this past week. So the first thing I want to talk about, just circling back to Juneteenth, there is a young woman out there and she loves to put her voice out there in the world, for better or for worse, usually for worse. Her name is Candace Owens. She is a Black woman who is a conservative who seems hell-bent on divorcing herself from her Blackness. I'm not going to go too deep into who Candace Owens is. If you don't know, do your research. Once you've done your research, you will understand then why no one was surprised when she tweeted this out about Juneteenth being recognized as a federal holiday. So as you can see, she's I'll tell you this. I try and support Black women, and so whenever she first came out on the scene, I was like, oh, well, maybe she's not that bad. And I watched one video of hers that wasn't too terrible, and then all of the other videos were so disgusting, I blocked her from Insta, from Twitter. I can't see anything that she does. If she does it, I have to see it through a third party, which is how I found out about this tweet. Yeah, so that's her character in a nutshell. She doesn't ever want to be looked at in a lens that includes her race. She refuses to acknowledge that that is something that people can have to deal with in the world. She doesn't like terms like white privilege. She doesn't like terms. She's one of the big people that is against teaching critical race theory in schools. Just, you got to do your research about Candace Owens, but that tweet surprised nobody. What was surprising was the person who responded to that tweet in such a thorough and succinct and chaotic manner, almost, that everybody's edges were snatched when this person responded, and that's because the person that responded was Azealia Banks. And normally, I think people of the internet associate Azealia Banks with mess and chaos and kind of some ridiculousness. If you're not familiar with her, she was a rapper who came out with it was a good album in about, I think it was 2013, around then. And ever since then, she's sort of struggled ascending in the media. She's had issues with various other musicians. She's had issues with her record label. She's had her own personal issues. And so her star has not been as meteoric as everybody initially thought it was going to be. But whoo! And she has her own issues around race and herself as a Black woman that people have questioned and that they've looked at. But when I tell you, she responded to Candace so well. She, as RuPaul would put it, read Candace for filth. She absolutely did. And I'm not gonna like read out what she said, but I am gonna post it here right now with some Juneteenth appropriate music. So there it is and there go, as a friend of mine would say. There's no really other way. And she went into further detail on another posting, or I think she like posted more about it, whatever. I will link below, and this time I'm actually going to do it because I noticed I say I'm going to link it below and then I don't link things below. But I'm going to link below where you can read like the whole thread, everything she said to her. But it's absolutely so important that she responded that way. And unlike Candace Owens' battles that she has with Cardi B from time to time, Azealia's response did not garner a response from Candace. Like Candace Owens and Cardi B have gone back and forth in different, situations. One time Candace Owens even threatened to sue Cardi B for libel or something like that, based on something Cardi B said about her husband. She said he was gay. But Candace did not respond. And I like to think that it's because she knew she was right. Like there's no place you can go after that. I mean, it was like a mortal combat. Like she finished her. She really did. And I think it's important for anybody, especially people who are African American. So like we're here because of the descendants of, we're the descendants of slaves. To always be aware and cognizant of the fact that yes, you are an American, absolutely, but you became an American through an incredibly brutal, horrific, nightmarish process, whose effects reverberate throughout the country today. So to deny, any day, any holiday that validates that process, or that chooses to remember it, that chooses to eulogize it, to say, oh, I don't want to be a part of that, I'm just an American. It's a really ignorant and callous way of looking at things. And Azealia said it best. And those are 3 words that I thought I would never, ever say. Moving on, in other chaotic celebrity conflicts. So unfortunately, I hooked myself onto this topic with one of my very first videos that I put out. And I didn't mean to. It's just, I was just, looking around for things that I wanted to talk about. And I'm attached to this subject because I'm a fan of this person. And I'm talking about Chrissy Teigen. I was a fan. And it's so crazy. All the news that's come out recently, I didn't expect my fanship to change. Like I didn't expect what ended up happening emotionally with me and content that's related to her. Because there are people that have said things in the media, one person in particular is Doja Cat. Last year she had a horrible summer where some very terrible things came out about her, and racist remarks she made. You're welcome to look it up. I'm not gonna go into detail about it here, but I was in the boycott Doja Cat camp. Like, I was like, I'm not gonna listen to her songs. I'm gonna do that. And that's hard to do if you have an account on TikTok. Like, that's very hard not to listen to Doja Cat. And she had such great songs. Like, they were so good for working out. I was so mad when that stuff came out, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to support her. Cut to a year later, definitely, you know, ran to watch her performance. She was on some award show recently. I don't remember what it was. Definitely have listened to all the new music she's come out with. I was able to take just kind of like a break and then remember that, like, I'm not her friend. Like, I don't have to be Doja Cat's friend. I don't have to like her personality. I like her music. And she did apologize, and she did, I don't know. I don't know why it was so much easier for me to be like, well, she said those things, but I'll still listen. And I'm different in that, because I have some friends that still won't listen to her, but for whatever reason, I could do that with Doja Cat, and maybe I'll end up doing that with Chrissy Teigen in the future. But Chrissy Teigen resurfaced this past week after not saying anything on social media for about a month, when all this bullying things, when all these stories came out about her. And she resurfaced to say a couple things. The first thing was, hey, my kids graduated from preschool, or my daughter graduated from preschool, and, you know, it just made me realize how time passes, and I got this tattoo, and I'm changing, and I'm growing. Then she wrote like this really, really long article on Medium about how much she's learned about herself and how she hopes that the public will allow her, basically sort of begging and pleading for the public to accept her again, as who she once was, you know, this bubbly, outgoing TV personality. And she got a lot of support from her very famous friends, a lot of people that I follow because I followed her. And she got support from her husband. You know, he came out and supported her. Her husband, of course, is John Legend. But then this stylist that she worked with in the past, Michael Costello, he waded into the situation. And he was basically like, you know, well, she's going to come out and say this. She never apologized to me. And Chrissy Teigen is the reason I almost killed myself. Now, I don't know if any of that is true, because it's since come out that he fabricated messages. It's since come out that he, you know, there's a lady who's on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and she came out and said, well, hey, that guy ruined my modeling career. Like, he's the reason I'm not a model. Leona Lewis came out and said, hey, he said some things about me. People are saying this guy is not to be believed because he does some really, really crappy things himself. And it should be noted that the reason Chrissy Teigen had an issue with him is because he was exposed for being a racist. And, you know, of course, she is married to a black man. She now has black children. I can understand, you know, her being upset about that. You don't have to go after everybody personally, but let me also just say that those messages that I'm talking about, I'm not sure that they're real or not. And also, her and Michael did have a personal relationship. So I think if I had a personal relationship with somebody and they're found out to be saying these terribly racist things, I probably would go after them too. So, but when Michael waded in, it created it sort of canceled out her long, lengthy letter that she wrote. Like, whereas people might have looked and like, oh, let's reevaluate. Him saying that, whether it's true or not true, sort of just solidified in people's mind that this is a person that really abused her privilege at the top of the ladder for a long time. And whether or not we can, you know, validate what he's saying, it has to be said and it has to be recognized that she can't go back to how things were before, which is surprising to me that I feel that way, because I feel like I'm Mrs. Forgiveness. I can't help it. I'm a Pisces. I want to say Chrissy Teigen, I think, is different than someone like Doja Cat, because Chrissy Teigen made her life off of her personality. Yes, she cooks. She has cookbooks. I own them. But we're interested in them because of her personality. That's the draw. Doja Cat, it was her music, you know, it was TikTok. That's what brought us all in. So I think, you know, I don't know, there's more separation there from the product and the person. And with Chrissy Teigen, her person is her product. And so even with coming out with this long letter, I think when Michael you know, when he sailed in and he said what he said, sort of the dominoes just kept falling for her. And I read somewhere that she's been taken off of like White House lists. So they said, you know, of the people that can come to press events, she can't come, which is wild because when Trump was in office, she was noticeably, like, she was blocked. Trump had her blocked because she would always tweet at him and say things to him, which I think people understood because, I mean, who didn't tweet something at Trump, right? So she got blocked, and then when Biden got in office, his account unblocked her, and then it was a whole thing of her being like, hey, I can't be myself if the president is following me. Please block me again. So they reblocked her. But there was this idea of her now having a good relationship with the president. Like, it's been restored because I think her and John had a good relationship with the Obamas, or they have a good relationship with the Obamas. So it was like, this has been restored. And now she can't come to any press events, which is so crazy. How quickly that all happened. Also, she started a cleaning company with Kris Jenner, and they started it at the beginning of the year, and it's called Safely. And it was kind of like the Honest Company, but just for cleaning products. And they removed her from all marketing, branding from the company. And they released a statement basically saying, oh, hey, she's going to take care of her family, so on and so forth. But yeah, so the dominoes, they sort of keep falling, and it's just an interesting chapter to this. I sort of thought she was going to recover. And I thought it was going to happen quickly. Like, I thought once, I don't know what I thought actually, because again, her person was the product. And so, especially like to see this mom with these little kids, and then to see the things that she sent, you know, Courtney Stodden, Lindsay Lohan, Farrah Abraham, you know, these people that she deemed to be beneath her, see these things that she sent them, and they were so evil and so detailed. You just have to say, okay, who is this person I was allowing to sell me things? Who is this? And yes, people do change, absolutely. But yeah, so I guess for her, it's just gonna take longer. But if it happens at all, if she's forgiven at all, it's gonna take longer. But yeah, that was interesting this week to see kind of how that developed. You know, she tried to come back, a phoenix rising from the ashes, and Michael Costello was like, nope. Not in my house. You know, he Dikembe Mutombo'd her, you know, the whole, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I don't know sports. Moving on to my very last thing that I wanted to talk about. So I think that a lot of people have found my little account here, my little fledgling account, because I made my pretty privilege video, and it is a hot topic on the internet. I didn't realize how hot of a topic it was until I, you know, like I said, I saw the little numbers notch up on it, and I was like, oh, okay. But also, I realized that I wanted to talk about it because I saw people talking about it on TikTok. There are people that are so many years younger than me. It's a very Gen Z thing to even bring it up, because my generation, the millennials, we wouldn't dare, you know, speak ill about ourselves that way. Our boomer parents did not raise us to talk about ourselves that way. So it's a very Gen Z thing to like look at it and pick it apart and be honest about it, which I'm grateful that they do that, because I love to just hop on those little trains and start talking about things that happen to me as well. But I was on TikTok recently and I saw this video.
Hey, if you've had pretty privilege like your whole life, can you stitch this and...
Yes, girl, let's talk about it because it needs to be talked about. Okay, so let me get my credentials out of the way really quickly. A few years ago, I looked like this. Now I look like this, and that has given me the power to experience both the best and the worst that pretty privilege has to offer. Also, not to go super psychological on y'all, at 9 o'clock in the morning, look up the halo effect on Google and learn more about this. So now let's talk about what pretty privilege actually looks like. It's little subtle things that you wouldn't notice before. So for example, not being charged for that extra drink or dessert at a restaurant, having someone offer to put the air in your tires rather than see you struggle doing it. And you can tell me like, oh my God, Kelsey, like maybe people are just good, or maybe they're just doing a good deed. And I'm with you. They're doing a good deed, but why didn't they do that good deed when I was 257 pounds, huh? Why did all of a sudden all these good deeds start happening to me the moment I look like this? Because I went from like one good deed happening to me to a year to 10 of them happening to me in a week. That's not a coincidence. I'm sorry.
And yeah, I had never heard of the halo effect before. And I'm sad that I didn't know what it was called, because I think sometimes it's a little bit more credible to say like, oh, because of the halo effect, people are going to be nicer to you than they are to me, rather than to say, you're pretty and I'm not. So, you know what I mean? Because pretty is so subjective. And so one person can be treated better in one situation and one person can be treated better in another situation. Like, I think pretty privilege is like a lot of privileges where it depends on the society that you are existing within. However, there are some things that are unilateral across all societies. Like, I went to Greece a few years ago with this girl from Australia. She had blonde hair, big blue eyes. We didn't go to Greece. We went to Europe. And everywhere we went, she was a draw. Everywhere we went. Whereas me, I was only a draw in, like, surprisingly, Germany. Okay? Yeah, so I think the halo effect is a much easier way of saying it, because then you don't get people that say, no, don't say that about you. You are pretty. You listen, we'll take you here and you'll see. It's like, okay, so just take it away from me saying, that it has anything to do with how I look, and let's just focus on how people are reacting. Just like the girl said, it could be something as simple as thinking, oh, well, no, maybe they were just having a good day and being nice. Yeah, well, how come they were having so many more good days when they deemed me attractive? Yeah, I think that that's just an interesting way of looking at it, and I'd never heard that before. Also, somebody said something in her comments which I thought was interesting. They said, there's two sides to this thing, though, because if you have pretty privilege, then you have to deal with a lot of creeps that think they have access to you because they're willing to treat you better. And she responded, she was like, yep, it's a double-edged sword. And I absolutely have witnessed that as well. One of the things that I've seen on TikTok is people saying they have ugly girl privilege, which calling it that is what it is. But it's the ability to exist in social situations unseen. So like, you don't have the pressure. So you can walk in and be like, I don't have to worry about people catcalling me. I don't have to worry about people bothering me and coming into my space. Like, if I want to go somewhere and I want to be left alone, it's going to happen. I can wear kind of what I want to wear because I don't have to worry about people, trying to hit on me and do whatever. I don't have to worry about people I can go. For me, I'm very brave with learning new things. Like, I'll go in and I will, take a dance class by myself. I'll take an art class by myself. I'll do a lot of things alone because I know I can like swoop in and be completely invisible. Nobody's gonna be like, hey, is this your first time here? I haven't seen you around. No, you haven't seen me around. You weren't looking for me. Like, I don't stand out. And so it's kind of that ability to like pick and choose when you're going to have impact on a crowd. And she called it ugly girl privilege, and it is what it is. But that is something that's also another side to this whole thing. But I really, really like the fact, like I said earlier, and I think I want to make a video about all the different things that I like about Gen Z, because I did make my Chugi video, and that may have sounded like I was just so confused about the generation, but there's a lot of things I really, really like. And that's one of them, man. I love the fact that they're like, hey, this is happening. Let's talk about it. Let's bring it up. Fantastic. Yes, let's talk about it. Because my generation, it was, shh, be quiet. Don't say anything. Just keep going. And that, it doesn't get you very far. So. All right, thank you for watching this if you watched. Also, what do you think about this background here? Because actually it's just a green screen. I was trying to figure out how can I sort of pretend that I have the cute setup of my dreams. And this is the way I sought to do it. And I don't know, What do we think? Does this work? I mean, I'm going to try some other things out. We'll see. Thanks for watching.